If you're a parent with a child or a teenager that has a disability and you're stuck trying to decide whether to enroll your son or daughter in a private school or a public school, by the end of this video, you will have a 6-point checklist that you can use when you are grading schools for the right one. I have a master's degree in special education. I have children that have disabilities, and I have a disability myself. I have taught in a Christian private school. I have homeschooled my own children, and I currently teach as a resource special education English teacher at a middle and high school public charter school. I also have a website called secondarysped911.com where I help teachers and parents just like you to answer your questions about special education. Get right into it. Step number 1 is personal convictions. Some people have deep driving convictions that determine their educational decisions for their children. When I was younger and my children were younger, I had a very deeply held conviction that I should homeschool my children and teach them according to a biblical worldview. Well, now that I teach in a public school, my worldview has changed very, very much, and I feel called to be in that setting. But if that's you, if you have a deeply held conviction, then that may be your driving factor in whether to choose a public or a private school. And you need to follow your gut and follow your heart on that one. Step 2. If your convictions allow you to choose between a public and a private school and not homeschooling, then the next thing to consider are your finances. Public school is basically free. I'd like you to watch my video called FAPE is Free to give you the details on what exactly is considered free or usually is free in a public school for a student that has a disability. In a private school, there may be somebody who is a major benefactor or a philanthropist that provides a major endowment for the school in order to keep it running. And you may be able to get a very high quality education there at that school. But there's always the risk of that benefactor deciding to go in a different direction and pull the funding. And that means that the school might not be able to recover that source of income, and the school has to close their doors. 3 is legal protection under the federal law known as IDEA. It stands for the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. It was first published in 1974 and renewed under the George W. Bush administration in 2004. What it does is guarantee public school children with disabilities a free and appropriate public education, also known as FAPE. Please watch my other 2 videos in this series that explains all of the details about what FAPE means and what the students get or are entitled to under the IDEA laws. Private school students are not guaranteed these same rights. Private schools can do whatever they want. They are not bound by these laws, and please consider this when you are making your decision on whether to place your child in a public or a private school. Step 4 is teacher quality. When you are shopping for either a private or a public school for your child that has a disability, you've got to look at the quality of the teachers who are going to be teaching your son or daughter. You are looking for highly qualified teachers. This can be either through some accrediting agency such as SACS for Christian schools, or it can be with a state agency such as the Texas Education Agency, or TEA, for the state of Texas. Every state has one. I highly recommend, as a teacher myself, that you make sure that every teacher your child ever has at least a bachelor's degree in the field that they teach, and also has teacher certification credentials. I also highly recommend that your child's special education teachers hold a master's degree in special education or a related field. If your son or daughter has autism, I highly recommend that you find a special education teacher who is trained in ABA. I can tell you what that is in a later video and explain how it's done. But for now, just ask if they use ABA or not, or what their opinion is of it. You want one who does use it, and you can thank me later. Comment below if your special education teacher does use ABA with an amen. 5. When you are looking for either a private or a public school for your son or daughter with special needs, is adequate staffing. When you go into a school, you can ask them if they have enough teachers to serve all of the students. It's probably best for you to ask the special education staff, or the special education coordinator or director, or whatever the head of the Department of Special Education is called. When you ask the principals or the administrators that same question, they will tell you, they've got the best in the world, and they've got, of course they've got enough teachers, and, they're highly trained and all this kind of stuff, which is, usually true. But sometimes if you hear it from the special education staff, they might tell you a different story, and they might say something like, we have service minutes that we have to meet, and it's just difficult because of our caseloads. Our caseloads are so high. If you are hearing stories such as, I've got 60 students on my caseload this year, and I'm having ARD meetings or IEP meetings every day of the week, things like that, then that's telling you that this school is having a difficult time serving their students with special needs, and the students are not getting everything that they might need. If you are hearing numbers like, I have 16 on my caseload, or 20 on my caseload, 25 maybe tops, then that's a good sign that they do have enough staff, or they've got enough paraprofessionals or teachers, aides, or whatever they need in order to meet the minutes that are required for each student according to their IEP. And finally, we get to step 6. And this one is about adequate facilities. Now, if your son or daughter is in the inclusion setting, that means that they attend classes with the general education classroom with students who do not have any disabilities at all. It's just a regular classroom. You want to interview that teacher. You want to interview all of your child's teachers. And you want to ask them if they pull for IEP time. Now, they know exactly what you're talking about when you're asking about pulling them for the IEP time. You just want to know how they do it. What you're listening for are things like a small group table, or a small group time, or one-on-one time during independent practice, something along those lines. You also want to hear things like there's an inclusion teacher that comes in, or a paraprofessional, or a special education aide, something like that comes in that works with the students. If you hear that, then that is a classroom that you would want your child to be in. But if you don't hear that, or if they don't do that, then you need to ask for another teacher, or you might even need to go to a different school. Now, your son or daughter may be a resource student. And that's what I do. I'm a resource English teacher. And what we do is we will pull students into the resource room for a very, very intense small group or even one-on-one time on specific skills that the student needs in order to master some basic skills that they didn't get in previous years. So we might do like phonics instruction or spelling instruction or reading comprehension on whatever their grade level is, where they're functioning. And then we also modify the curriculum that the students are learning in the regular classrooms. We just bring it down to the level that these students can understand. They're usually a little bit lower than the students that are in the inclusion classrooms. And the reason they come into resource is so that they can get that more intense one-on-one time or small group time. And it's a little bit of slower pace that they can understand, whereas in the inclusion classroom, those kiddos are going at the same pace as the general students, and a resource student would have a difficult time keeping up. You may not be able to go see the resource room because of federal privacy laws, but you're just looking for a comfortable and clean environment and a highly qualified teacher. The last setting that your child may be placed in is a self-contained room. And the self-contained room is for the students with the most severe disabilities. They're in that room all day. And the reason they're in there is they're just not going to be successful in a regular classroom or a resource room. And in these self-contained rooms, they teach functional life skills as well as functional academic skills and social skills. So in those rooms, you will probably see a bathroom that's contained in the room, a kitchen and cooking area, and maybe even laundry facilities, because the students are learning how to become independent once they become adults. And that's a part of their transition plan. So if you do have a student that is in a self-contained room, it's, to me, a best practice that you separate them from the resource students, because the content of what's taught in each different room is very different from each other. While the resource student is going to go in and out, they're going to pull into the resource room for one class or two classes, depending on what their disability is in. And then they go out for the rest of the day in the general education setting. And so they're part-time with the students of their own age, and they're feeling included, and they're getting all the social skills they need there. But in the self-contained room, they're for students who just need more intensity. They may have one teacher that's assigned to them all day long, and that particular teacher or that paraprofessional works with them on particular skills, just one-on-one. So it's very important that you ask about it and see what your school provides. Not every school has a separate self-contained room, but in my opinion, I think it's better if they do. And there you have it. The 6 steps you need in order to make a decision about whether to send your son or daughter to a public or a private school. Now, if you'd like to have this information as a list that you can have as personal shopping list, if you like, head on over to my website at secondarysped911.com and go to my blog. I'll have the URL address in the credits at the end of this video, and then you'll just hop on over there and you can download it for free. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified every time a new video goes up, and comment below if you found this video to be helpful. Also, share the video with other people that you think might need this information. Thank you for watching. Bye.